All right, thank you, Susan, and thank you all for having me here today. It's good to be back out. It's good to see smiling faces again, and give you a little update on what we're doing now at the Chamber, what the future looks like, and some of the things that maybe we can work together on. So we are back. We are doing in-person events again. We've been operating out of our new office. We just recently relocated to the CoLab building at 418 West Gardner Street, across from Everman's. We're on the 4th floor, so a nice view of all of this area, and get to see the growth and development that's happening in Pensacola as things begin to move to our west. So that's exciting to watch. We are really focused on, I would say, 5 things at the Chamber right now. Advocacy, as you heard in my bio, that's my background is in advocacy for government for business in front of government, and that's an important role that we feel like we need to play at the Chamber. Speaking up for government, making sure that for businesses, and making sure that we have the right environment here in Pensacola and Escambia County to grow our economy, to make sure that our businesses are protected, and that we don't put anything in the way of the momentum we're experiencing. Collaboration, and I'm so happy to be here today to talk to you all, because we are looking for ways to work with all parts of our community. One thing about the Chamber, we have almost 1,100 members right now, which for a community our size is very large. If you look at a county of about Escambia County size, 320, 330,000. Typical Chamber probably has about 700, 750 members. We have 1,100. So we touch every part of the community. We touch the largest business to the smallest mom and pop. We touch government, we touch education, we touch nonprofits. So it's my vision to really work with everyone to move in the same direction, because, like I said, we've got a lot of momentum going right now. We want to keep it going, and if we've got a lot of different things moving in different directions, it's just going to make it more difficult to create that community that we want to create and create. Military support. I'll get into this more a little bit later, but most folks don't realize in the Escambia Santa Rosa MSA, the military accounts for 40% of our economy, over $8 billion a year. And so it's very important to us at the Chamber that we protect what we have here in our region, because there may not be what's called the BRAC, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. There may not be one on the horizon, but the Navy is always looking at what they call strategic basing, which is they'll look at some training they're doing and say, well, maybe we can do this training better somewhere else because the schools aren't as good or the area around the base isn't nice. So we'll just move this over here without having to go through a BRAC. So I'll get into more details about that later, but it's something that we take very seriously at the Chamber and something we're very engaged in. Business support and resources, that goes back to advocacy, but also providing classes and information for businesses. One of the most important things to me throughout COVID was making sure that we were getting the right information out to the public and the business community. So much was happening so quickly, and there was information flying everywhere. So one of the most important things to me was to make sure, okay, let's get the right information. Let's get it out. Let's talk to the people who are the experts and get that information to the public and the business community, whether it's about the PPP or anything that was happening locally in terms of support, just to make sure that the right information, no misinformation was being sent out from the Chamber. It's just important, communication, making sure people are informed and educated is something that's very important to me. And then Leadership Pensacola is a big part of what we do at the Chamber. We actually have our opening retreat tomorrow. Last year's class had to skip, so we The class of 2021 is now going to be the class of 2022. But the class stayed together, and they're going to be at the opening retreat at Adventures Unlimited tomorrow, and looking forward to a big year with that. And if you've never gone through LEAP, or you have someone at your business that you think would be a good candidate, we'll be opening that up in January, early next year, for applications. And would really encourage, if you haven't been through it or you know someone that you think would benefit, it really gives you an overall perspective of the community. Everything from what our law enforcement and first responders do to what happens behind the scenes at the military base, education, healthcare, all of that is covered. So people who live their entire lives here say, I learned a lot that I never knew about our community. Yes.
Can anybody participate in LEAP?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's open to the public.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
So getting back to some of our events and some of our initiatives that we're working on. Yeah, I mentioned advocacy is a large part of what we do. We actually have an event. It's like a class next Friday called Advocacy in Action. If you want to learn how to work with, lobby, ask for money from your local or state government, we're going to have a class from 9 to 3 next Friday at the Chamber office. It's $50. It includes lunch, and we've got experts in our community. We also have someone from the Florida Chamber coming in and give a presentation about how to lobby on the state level. But now that things are back open and people are going to meetings, and it's very important in Northwest Florida, and we only have 7 state representatives and 3 senators west of Tallahassee. And if we aren't engaged, and as Mike was saying, I mean, you got to have that voice when it comes to issues that you care about. So if we aren't engaged, if we aren't standing up for our community, the business community specifically, then we get lost. We get left out. Senator Clay Ford, used to represent this area, said he was the chairman of the committee, and someone came in and gave a presentation, and they put a map of Florida up on the screen, and the map cut off at the Apalachicola River. And the chairman's from Pensacola. He said, sir, your map's not right because you cut us off. And it feels that way sometimes. So that's important to us. Some things that we'll be doing also, we'll be going to Tallahassee during committee week, probably the first week in November, as a group to advocate, and not just to go to talk to our representatives. Our representatives are very accessible. I mean, we're very fortunate to have folks that we can talk to easily, but it's going to talk to the other leaders from across the state and let them know, we're here. There are things that are important to Northwest Florida that they need to know about. So we'll be doing that in November, and then we do a regional effort it'll probably be in February, since sessions January through early March next year, called Northwest Florida Days, where we go over as a region and do the same sort of thing. We'll set up in the courtyard at the Capitol. If you've ever been there, you can reserve that area, and we'll have booths and tables set up so we can share what Northwest Florida is all about with the rest of the state, and then we'll spend the rest of the time going to see legislators, having some of the key cabinet folks come talk to us and share what they're seeing. So that'll be in February. If you're interested, we'll have more information about that soon. Another new thing, at least for me, I think this used to happen before, we're going to start doing community visits again. So we have our first one scheduled September 8th through 10th. We're going to Louisville, Kentucky. People might ask, why Louisville? As we have been growing our advocacy program, we looked at other chambers that have done this and have had success. And Louisville was one that we saw that was very similar to where we were, where they were somewhere where we are now about 5 or 6 years ago. So we wanted to go and learn from them. We've got a great working relationship with them. So we're going September 8th through 10th. We've already scheduled, we don't have the dates yet, but we're looking at April of next year to go to Savannah. So that'll be our next trip. But it's looking for those communities that have things that are similar to Pensacola's and go where we can learn. And hopefully we can become a city where other chambers want to come or other business organizations want to come and learn from us. So, so that's new. If you have any interest in that, please let me know. Couple more upcoming advocacy type events. We started a State of series a couple of years ago. We've done State of the Economy. We did that this past March. We've done State of the Military the past few years. We've done State of the City, State of the County. So September 1st, we've got Dr. Smith from the school district is going to be our keynote speaker at our inaugural State of Education. And this is just an opportunity really to bring some of the decision makers and leaders in our community to the business community to share what their vision is for the future, but also hear from us what is important to us as a community. They'll give a presentation and then have question and answers at the end. But that's September 1st. And I believe we're at, it's either the Yacht Club or the Country Club. When we do something now, it's usually at one of those. So, but you can go on our website and sign up for tickets if you want to attend that. But again, that's it. It's important to me that the chamber is leading these conversations, being the convener to bring folks together, to hear from our leaders, to drive the conversation and make sure that we keep that dialogue going. So that leads us to something that's new that we've been working on for a few months and we'll be unveiling at our annual meeting in September. We're calling it Pensacola 2030. So one of the things that I've consistently heard over the years is that our community really doesn't have a strategic plan or a master plan. So something that we're doing to address that is develop goals for our community. And this is something that's done under the framework that the Florida Chamber Foundation has provided. It's looking at where we are with certain metrics in our community and where do we want to be in 8.5 years now. We intended to start this last year, but obviously things got sidetracked. But we have 4 committees that we've stood up to look at these. We've got healthcare, quality of life, what we've called economic recovery right now. It's really economic development, but as we've been coming out of COVID, we call it economic recovery. And then of course, workforce is always key. So we've had key chamber members as part of these committees, real experts in the field looking at the issues and the data. So we'll be unveiling that at our annual meeting. It'll be sort of like, here's where we are now, here's our goals, and we'll have a scorecard that we'll update every year and say, all right, here's our progress or lack of progress, and what do we need to be doing to improve. And it's really something that we want the entire community to be a part of. I mentioned we've had these committees that have been working on it, but as we get into the real work, it's going to be important that the entire community work together to achieve these goals. So much of economic development nowadays is really about creating that community that people want to be a part of. We were talking about it before. People, they either want to work from home or they want to start their own business now, and so you can choose. You don't have to be at the big office building in a certain city. You can be in Pensacola or a similar sized community and either get a small office or work from home, or it's a different environment now. So creating that community that people want to be a part. I mean, we know how great this area is, but there are always going to be issues. There are always going to be things to work on and improve. And again, to me, it's important that we're working on those things together, that we're pulling in the right direction with everyone on board. So if you'd like to be a part of that effort, you'll be hearing more in the next month and a half. But we'd love to have you be a part of that. Something that we've started a couple of years ago, and Kurt knows about this. So in the past, when the chamber did events, we do our annual meeting, we do PACE awards, things like that. We'd be running around trying to find sponsors up to the last minute. Hey, can you sponsor for this? These, you get a table, you get some recognition. That's well, a couple of years ago, we decided this is, we spend half the time before an event chasing sponsors, and sometimes the event doesn't look as good because we don't spend the amount of time that we should preparing for the event. So we started what's called our Total Resource Campaign. And what we do is we sell our entire year of sponsorships within a 6-week campaign. So if you want to sponsor a Gopher Club, and we have Gopher Club tomorrow out at the Country Club, Beck Partners and Manuel Shepard are the presenters. So if y'all are interested, tickets are still available for that. But if you want to sponsor a Gopher Club, then you can buy that sponsorship within, and it's the month you want. So if you want the March Gopher Club, like, yeah, I want to speak then, you can buy that during the campaign. And we sell everything for our year within that 6-week period. And that does a few things. One, it tells us what you as a business community want. And again, we have everything from our social events to our State of series, our annual meeting. We have a new event 2 weeks from tomorrow called Connect Her, where we're going to have female business leaders from around the community doing presentations and working with leaders here to kind of share experiences and let other female leaders know, here are the things that I experienced as I moved up through the ranks. That's August 20th. If you're interested, you can go on our website. But it's events like that, some new things that we're starting. But as we go through the campaign, people choose what they want to sponsor, and that tells us what our program of work for the year needs to be. So it helps us organize our year. It helps us let us know what the business community wants to hear from the chamber, and then we plan everything out for 2021 from there. So that will start on October 4th, and it'll run for 6 weeks. And if you're interested and want more information, please let us know. And I mentioned military earlier and the importance of the military on our community. So a few years ago, we stood up what's called the West Florida Defense Alliance, or WFDA. And this is, it's under our foundation, but this organization meets to discuss and address issues outside the installation that we can work on in our community. Again, we have committees that are similar to the chamber committees that focus on workforce, quality of life. We have what's our P4, public-private partnership committee that looks at some ways that the county can work with, or ECUA, or whatever government agency needs to work with the base on resiliency type issues. So we meet, so the committees meet 1 month, then the full board meets the next month, and it's open to the public. It is anyone can join and be a part of it, but it's an effort to support the military from a community perspective. We don't know if there'll be a BRAC upcoming. Everything I've heard is that you wouldn't see one until after the 24 election at the earliest. So, we're not concerned so much about a BRAC, but again, I mentioned that they do look at strategic basing, moving some things around sometimes, and we can benefit from that, or we could lose some things. So having a strong, resilient community that supports our military is something that's very important to us, and we're going to stay engaged on that. And you may not always hear a lot about it, but it's something is work that is continually going on. And like I said, if you want to be a part of it, please let me know. Those were the main things. Oh, I mentioned LEAP, and if you want to be a part of that, we'll be sending out information early part of next year. But highly encourage anyone who hasn't been a part of it to go through it. It's a great program. that's really the overview of where we are as a chamber and where we're heading in the next few years. And now I'll open it up to questions. Yes.
I don't know to the extent it may already be being done, but the base with the museum, lighthouse, National Seashore, Fort Rankus, all that huge tourist draw, and even locals. But they need help. I know they've been planning now for a while, and the COVID probably screwed everything up, trying to isolate that from a security standpoint so they can let people back in the back gate without worrying about them too much, and let them come on back in and open everything back up again. To what extent, maybe the Navy, maybe the base needs help from an outside lobbying type of thing, to Gates, Rubio, so forth, to help get some funds. It's all about, everything's all about money. It's always about money. And so what extent could the chamber maybe jump in and try to, be a mechanism to try to get that sucker rolling back again?
Right. No, great question. And that is something that we are working on with our P4 committee. There will be a supplemental federal budget that will be coming out. We just found out about this sometime in the fall. That'll deal with COVID and some military issues. But that is a huge problem. Not being able to have access to the museum, the lighthouse, the cemetery. And so, we've had conversations with Florida Department of Transportation, obviously our local government officials, but it is something that will have to be dealt with on the federal level. And we are working on it. And unfortunately, these things, especially at that level, move very slowly, but it is on our radar. It's something that we've been addressing. Yes.
To elaborate on that, so because it's federally owned, it's shut down? I don't know about that.
More or less shut down.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Okay.
Yeah, the base has been shut down to civilians since the shooting in December, right, in 2019. And COVID has just made it. They're not reopening. The only people that actually can visit the museum or lighthouse are basically have to have a DOD ID of some sort, or be escorted by somebody with a DOD ID to get on base. So and right now I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, not with money either.
Right.
and they just went back. I forget what level that they had to change because of COVID.
Yeah, HealthCon Bravo or something.
Right.
Yeah, they've increased that because of so basically again they went back to masking inside in office spaces, things like that.
And another question about leave. How long?
It's a 10-month program.
Okay.
So
how much time would I have to invest?
it's 1 day a month.
Oh, okay.
Other than the Tallahassee, there's a trip to Tallahassee during session. That's an overnight trip.
Okay.
But it's a Thursday, one Thursday a month for a full day.
Reasonable.
So Todd, as a commercial realtor, I work with a lot of small companies or startups or folks that are new to the area, things like that, new businesses. Can you give me maybe like a 30-second speech or summary of what I can say to folks to help you recruit for your membership?
So for a chamber membership?
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. I would say that we want to be that one organization in our community that everybody comes to, come together to solve problems, to work together for a stronger Pensacola and Escambia County. We look at things regionally here with 1,100 members, and we touch not just Escambia, but Santa Rosa and even in Alabama. So, if you want to be a part of connecting with your community, the chamber is the place to be.
I know there's some people in the room that may not be as familiar with the chamber and its history. Can you just touch on maybe the difference in economic development group that's here in town? And-
Sure.
And I know, we know that's separated years ago, but y'all's role versus what they do and the difference.
Yes, yeah, I probably should have addressed that. I appreciate the question. So in 2014, the chamber split. So you used to have, chamber operations, tourism operations, and business development operations all under the chamber. In 2014, that split. So now you have Visit Pensacola that handles tourism, and Florida West, which handles outside economic development. And when I say outside economic development, their role is to recruit businesses into our community. So I think they've got like 150-mile or 200-mile radius they're supposed to work outside of to recruit new businesses into our community. Now they do other things. They run the co-lab, so they work in entrepreneurship, and they do some things in workforce, and that's how Scott Luth is the president there. But we have a very good relationship. We're working together on some things. But our focus as a chamber is really in our community. Our small businesses, we know the Navy Federals and the hospitals, they can take care of themselves, but they're a part of our chamber. But what can we do for the 5-person business? How can we support them? How can we get them connected? Whether it's figuring out which banker they need to talk to or which realtor they need to talk to. Those sorts of things. We want to be there. How to promote their business. We want to provide those resources. But it's focusing again on making Escambia County, Northwest Florida, the best place to do business. That's our focus. Yes.
Todd, you sent out a newsletter periodically, a lot of good information on metrics and stuff during the past year or so, and I appreciate that. And a lot of calls we've gone together.
Correct.
What about the economic impact of the base? The Naval Aviation Museum closed, Naval Aviation, the Flight Academy closed. That brought in quite a bit of ancillary income to the area through hotel stays, restaurants, so forth. So do you have any metrics on that? And
I don't have any specific metrics. Visit Pensacola might, but obviously because they host events there. They hosted the Florida Sports Hall of Fame induction a few years ago. They have reunions for Navy flyers that went through in a certain year or were in a certain squad where they come and hold events there. So it's certainly had an impact on tourism and the economy.
And another question, is there like I would say, maybe it's a bad name, a traffic cop? Because you have your organization, you have Scott's organization, you have the Small Business Development Center, their organization, you have the Student or Community Institute organizations, I can go on and on. You have Mike Gold's here, he's the Navy lead, right, Mike, and what else? Then they have like I think you have a Chamber of Commerce for the Navy. I know Debbie Graham used to be on.
Well, she works for us.
That's right.
Yeah.
So who's the traffic cop to kind of communicate, say like, let's all attack this together to make sure that we're not a lost coast, right?
Yeah, that's what we're really trying to accomplish is make sure that we are working together. And that's my goal is that, we bring everyone to the table. I have no pride of ownership in success here. We just want to make it work. And, there's a lot of great work that's happening in the community, but, we want to bring it together so we're all,
Going the same direction.
Yeah. I don't want to say we're going to go tackle childhood poverty. Well, we've got 7 groups that are already doing that. Maybe we need to get them together, come to the chamber, meet with us. You all talk amongst yourselves. Let's come up with a plan and tackle that together. Because it's not my role or my intention to ever get into somebody else's line of work. And I'd rather, I'm the one to lean on the experts. I'm not going to try to create a new program where there's already something happening. So, but that's really my goal is that we communicate and work together. And that's part of what we've been doing with the 2030 goals is bringing those experts making sure that we have their input before we put those out there. So we're not putting things out that are either unattainable or unrealistic or, not appropriate. But we want everybody at the table with their input. Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.